Well, hello there, Bubble Butts. This is my bisexual Pride soap from my Pride collection. I'm using Twilight, Pow Pow Purple, and Voodoo, all from Mad Micas. And these colors work perfectly for the colors of the bisexual Pride flag. I'm also using Black Raspberry Vanilla. It's a very classic scent, and I think it also works really well with this design. So, just like my other ones, I divided up my oils evenly. Well, in this one I didn't because this flag is a 2 to 1 to 2 ratio, so it's not evenly. And that was the worst math I have ever had to do in my life. And then I realized I was overcomplicating it and did that math. So if you need those numbers, just leave me a comment. I will reply with those numbers. But yeah, I just did this exactly like I did the other ones. I'm dividing up the lye here, kind of in the top corner of the screen there. You can see how cluttered my table is. I was doing a lot of these Pride soaps at once. This was actually the first one that I made, even though this is the second video in the series that you are seeing. But I thought I would start with the one that I felt was most inclusive and then kind of go from there. Why did I decide to do a bisexual Pride soap? Well, I'm glad you asked. I am bisexual myself, so this soap was very important for me to do. And so that's why it was the first one I did. I also was kind of testing out my colors, and I thought this would be the most simple one to do. Um, there's a lot of reasons why it wasn't, but hey, it's whatever. Um, I personally, it's been really hard for me to kind of come to the conclusion that I'm a bisexual woman. First, I want to talk about the definition of bisexual in my mind and in my world. And people, there's been a lot of discussion about the difference between bi and pan, and we'll talk more about that when I show you guys the pansexual soap I made. But in essence, to me, they are the same thing. There are very subtle differences, and depending on who you ask, you may get slightly different definitions. But for me, the definition of bisexual is attracted to your gender and other genders. I do not believe that gender is a binary. So I want to be very clear on that. There are people who consider themselves bisexual that, only are attracted to people on the binary, and I understand that. That's just not who I am, and that's not how I view it. I think it is all inclusive. Why do I use this term? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One of which is it's a more widely understood term. I am of a certain age, and having been someone who came out in their 30s, trying to explain what pansexual is, what that means, feels mentally and emotionally exhausting to me. And so, for my own sanity, I decided to go with the more understood term. That doesn't mean there isn't baggage that comes with it. Bi erasure is a thing. The queer community, as well as the heterosexual community, both disparage bisexual and pansexual people. There's a lot of things, I'm not even going to get into them now, but that we're not either. Some of them are like, we're not gay enough, we're not straight enough, we're not this, we're not that. If we're in a heterosexual appearing relationship, then we're not real, gays, quote unquote. That's just preposterous. And I want everyone to know that if you identify as anything other than cisgendered heterosexual person, I want you on my team. And I think that we're all part of that same community. And if you're an ally and you believe that all of those identities are real, then yeah, you can play in our sandbox too. That's fine. But anyway, so that's some of the, in a nutshell, some of the background on that. Not many people. There are people that think that pansexual is more inclusive, and I understand why. But again, for me, the two terms are pretty much interchangeable. It's just a personal preference for me. The other reason why it's a personal preference is I like the damn colors of this pride flag better. So there you go. It's an aesthetic choice too. So it's easier to explain. It's an aesthetic choice for me, and that's it. But it took me forever to claim this identity, and that's why it's so important to me that it is recognized and respected, and why I will recognize and respect others' identities no matter how or when they come to that conclusion. I don't care if you're 5 or you're 50, you're 100. You come out when you come out, and I will respect that. And if you later change your mind or that identity evolves, I will respect that. And I would ask the same. Part of the reason why it took me so long, I remember being very young, talking about my tween years, between the ages of like 8 and 12, kind of being drawn to some of my female friends, or little girls in my class, the way that you would have a crush on a boy at the same time. And, but I also had crushes on boys, the same way you would at that age. It's not particularly sexual at that age. It's totally normal, and you flirt by throwing things at people, or whatever it is that little kids do. And I would do a little bit of both, or I would think about doing it. But I also remember thinking, and I mean very actively thinking, I'm not a lesbian. That was very clear in my mind. I knew that I had crushes on boys, and I knew that my relationship with girls was not the same as some of my peers. Fast forward to my 20s, and I slowly come to the realization that most of my middle school friends, girls, are lesbians, or they might have been bisexual. I don't know. I'm just learning this from their MySpace and Facebook pages, and realizing that, oh, they weren't straight. And that realization for me was like, wow, I don't know what to do with this. And I became the world's staunchest ally. I really did. Now, keep in mind, in my teen years, I had a very good friend of mine show me his rainbow necklace, and I had no clue what it meant. So I came a long way in those, roughly 10 years. But it took me a long, long time to realize, oh, the feelings I have for women are very similar to those that I have for men. And sexuality's a spectrum, just like gender. Just it's not a black and white. I do tend to be more often attracted to men. I need to be more emotionally connected to women, so that technically probably makes me biromantic. I'm not going to get into the nuances of this. It doesn't matter. I identify as bisexual. I would have no qualms if I were single about being in a sexual relationship with a woman if I felt romantically connected to them. So that's essentially what that means. So you can see here I've done my layer of blue, and I'm mixing up this very thin layer of purple. I tried the second time I did this to get the blue a little bit darker and that purple a little bit darker and my pink a little bit brighter. These three colors are really tough to work with, and make that happen. I was able to do it in my rainbow soap, and these are the same colors. This Pow Pow Purple and Twilight were these same blue and purple I used in the rainbow soap, and you'll see how much lighter these came out than the rainbow one did. But much like how I didn't realize I was bisexual until after I was married to a man, I didn't really realize how light these colors were going to come out until after it spawnified. So you live and learn. I think I got the colors a little bit bolder in the second run, but not a whole lot. So the third run will probably be even better. One of the things that I find particularly problematic within the queer community, though, is the way that sometimes people talk about the kind of privilege that bisexual and pansexual people like myself have, who are in relationships like mine, where I am married to a cisgender man and I am a cisgender woman, right? So we have a very heterosexual presenting relationship. And along with that comes an immense amount of privilege, right? To the outside world, we look straight. And my husband is straight. So that is an immense amount of privilege. It would be like, if you have a person who is, of an ethnic background and passes as white, it is a very similar kind of passing sort of thing. And I recognize that. I don't want to discount that at all. But I don't like when I'm excluded from the community because of it. I worked long and hard to get where I am about my sexuality. And yeah, maybe had I realized it sooner, I might have had some, same-sex relationships, or I might have had relationships with non-cisgendered people. But I didn't, and that's my life. That's how my sexuality evolved. And it doesn't mean that I'm any less worthy or should be any less appreciated or respected. Does it mean that I didn't face some of the struggles that transgender, even non-binary, lesbian, gay individuals in the community did. Yeah, you friggin' bet it does. I did not experience that kind of discrimination. I recognize that. But I do face some discrimination, especially from within the community, and people that don't understand that, well, like, why do you have to come out? You're married. What does it matter? Well, it matters to me. And that's why I'm making this video while I'm soap making and not even really talking about the soap that I'm making. It's very important to me. And if it's not something that you support, my soap isn't for you. This is a very large part of who I am, and I've worked very hard to be able to say, my name is Carrie and I am bisexual. That is tough for me, and to constantly have to come out is exhausting. And it's even more so because I would like to be out to my students. I teach college, and I would love to be out to my students, but there's something that feels inherently awkward about stating a sexuality that has the word sexual in it. And it's like, why do we need to know that about you? It's so different than saying I'm gay or I'm lesbian or whatever. I often say I'm part of the LGBTQ community or I'm queer or something along those lines to maybe get around it, because I'm trying not to make them uncomfortable either. So it's a daily struggle in that regard. But overall, I've been very lucky in my life, and I don't want to discount the struggles of others. And I will talk more about each individual identity as I make these soaps. Upcoming, I have a transgender pride. I have a non-binary pride. I also have pansexual pride, lesbian pride. We're going to hit on all of these and really talk about some of the things, in particular with the lesbian flag. For example, I learned a new thing. I did not know there was a new lesbian flag and the reasons why, and I'm going to teach all about it. So we're all going to learn together. So this is the last layer. This is that fuchsia pink, this beautiful, gorgeous color. These are like the colors, like when you see all like the galaxy artwork, like galaxies are so bisexual. Oh, I love it. Whenever you see all of that, these are the colors, this blue, this deep purple, and this bright, bright fuchsia pink. Just the best colors to ever exist. And this black raspberry vanilla. It's just an absolute classic. If you have ever smelled the black raspberry vanilla from Bath & Body Works, you will recognize this scent. It is very similar. It's a good dupe, as the youngins say. No, I say dupe. I don't know why I'm saying that. However, I've already sold through it once. I hope to have the second round up by the time you see this video, so check the website, see if that one's available. But I plan on making these Pride soaps an ongoing item in my inventory, so these should be consistent and constant after June. So if you aren't able to get your hands on them during Pride Month, they will be available on an ongoing basis. I just love watching the reflection in the soap and how beautiful this one came out. And this one cut beautifully. The lines were perfectly straight. Like, I had a really good soaping day making this and making the main Rainbow Pride soap as well that you saw last week. All right, so I'm going to let that set up, let it cure a little bit. Well, it doesn't have to cure necessarily, but I'm going to cut it, and then I'll photograph it and show you the finished product. And here's your first glimpse at that beautiful flag, just a little sneak peek. But I'm going to show you as I cut this just how beautiful those little lines turned out. I have a little soda ash on top. I was able to plane that off really, really easily, so you don't see that little bit of, it almost looks like I dipped it in like baking soda or something. It's really kind of all it is. It just is an aesthetic thing. It doesn't harm the soap at all. It just happens because it's really humid in Florida, and as the, soap cures, it comes into contact with the air. But look at how great those lines came out. It's just absolutely friggin' perfect. Look at those colors. Like I said, best color combination. All the pride flags, in my opinion. Well, I don't know. I'm actually really in love with the lesbian pride flag now, so we'll see. We'll see. But I just like the way this came out. Yeah. Look at that. So yeah, and I also learned from doing this that which I didn't know, is that the bisexual pride flag is a 2-to-1 ratio, that, the pink and blue are twice the size of that purple stripe. So there you go. You learn something new every damn day. And that was what I learned on this day. All right, so let me get that cleaned up and I will photograph it and show you the finished product. you like this video, I'd love it if you give it a like or a comment, even subscribe. Or maybe if you just like gay people, queer people, she's, gays, and theys. You know, we're all out here to have a good time and to make friends. So give it a like. If you'd like to follow me on TikTok, I'm at CPACC over there, but everywhere else I am at The Gilded Bubble. And I want to thank you so much for watching. Special thanks to my patrons, Heidi, Katie, and Carol. See you next time.